This movie builds a really solid mystery, and then it explains it in a way that makes less sense than the mystery itself. Welcome to Creepin' It Real. Thanks for joining me. I'm Judah. We're talking about 1953's The Maze. We start off meeting a couple that are engaged to be married in 2 weeks. This couple hangs out with friends, they hang out with an aunt, and they're always having fun. At one point, he's sitting down talking to his fiance's aunt and discussing his childhood. He is related to a baron who lives in a castle, and this castle has never had any modifications done. It's not modernized, no heat, no electricity, nothing like this. That's not the weirdest things. There are rules. He's recounting different rules that his uncle had for him. Now, when he's telling this, it makes it sound like he was a child and his uncle was much older than him. That'll come into play later. But some of the rules were like, at night, he would get locked into his bedroom at 11 o'clock. There was also a botanical maze on the grounds, and no one was ever allowed in the maze. You know, kind of weird things like that. They alluded to there being other rules, but those are really the only two they ever touch on. Now, here comes this telegram to him. He finds out that his uncle, the Baron, has died at the age of 45. And I kid you not, this man cannot be younger than 39 himself. So it was really weird when he's telling these stories about growing up and visiting his uncle in this castle. You feel like there's this at least a 20-year age gap. And then you come to find that his uncle dies at 45 and you're like, whoa, wait a minute. There is no way this guy is younger than 39 as it is. He tells his fiance, hey, I know we're supposed to be married in 2 weeks. My uncle just died. I got to go take care of this whole estate situation, but I promise you I will be back because I love you, my dear. So he takes off, but like 6 weeks pass and they don't hear anything from him. They're getting worried. We're like, what the heck happened here? Finally, a telegram comes, but it isn't addressed to his fiance. It's addressed to her aunt. And she reads it and it basically says, hey, let your niece know that I free her from the engagement. It's not going to happen. Things have changed. Sorry, have a good life. Then his fiance is all like, oh, hell no. And she's like, we're going to go there and we're going to get his ass. So her aunt really goes on this tirade about how he's a piece of trash and she needs to just let him go. The niece is like, but I can't, I love him. And just like this, almost like Anakin turning to the dark side, her aunt is just like, okay, darling, we'll go. So they take a trip to this castle to go see what's really up. So they go to the castle, they knock on the door, the servant comes and answers, the butler answers, and they're like, we're here to see so-and-so, I can't remember his name. And he's like, the Baron will not see anybody now. So he has now replaced his uncle. He is now the new Baron. This woman's like, I'm his fiance, damn it. You go get him right now. And he's like, fiance? This is a part of the other mystery. All the Barons die at a relatively young age. Not only that, none of them get married because the only one to get married, his wife died like 2 days after she got married. So now there's some kind of weird mystery, like if you become a baron, you cannot get married or some kind of evil will befall your wife. So you're thinking he's really just trying to protect her. He knows about what has happened in this castle and he's trying to protect her. So the butler goes up and he's like, hey, this lady and her aunt's here. She says she's your fiance. And he's like, oh, shit. So he goes down and he looks like he's aged a bit, 10 to 15 years. He's got gray hairs now. And this is black and white. So how do I know he has gray hair? You can tell. And he looks very unhappy, very stern and stoic now. And he goes down. He's like, you got to get out of here now. No excuse. Get. I told you not to come here. This pisses me off. You had no right to come here. And they make up some excuse like, what? The taxi's gone. It's late. You got to at least put us up for the night. And we're hungry. It was a long drive. And he's like, fine. He tells his butler, fix up some rooms. Tomorrow morning, out of here. Well, during the night, they concoct some kind of a plan. Her aunt gets a little bit of a cough. She's like, we'll use this as an excuse. I'll tell him, the new Baron, that you're too sick to go. You can't leave, at least for another couple days. They play that, and the new Baron's like really angry because he's like, you're playing games. I know what you're doing. Get out. And she's like, she can't move. She's sick. So they've bought a few more days and some weird crap is going on. They get locked in their rooms and they hear weird noises out in the hallway. Not only that, the fiance finds like a hidden door in her bedroom that leads up to a tower that she looks out the window and she can see the maze that she's forbidden to go into. And she can see that there's a light going through the maze. She talks to her aunt the next morning. She's like, there's really something wrong with him. We got a couple good friends. I need to get a letter to them. One of them's a doctor. Get him out here, get him to see him. And if there's an issue, maybe we can address it. It's finally to the last day. And the new Baron's like, that's it. Get your ass out of this place. But at this point, the friends pull up in a car and they knock on the door. Oh, the Baron is just furious at this point. They act like it was all like, hey, we're just out in the countryside. We've decided we'd stop in. He tells the butlers, go hook up some rooms for these people. They get rooms. They have dinner. They leave. There's a discussion. They're all like, yeah, there's definitely something wrong with him. There doesn't seem to be anything physically wrong with him. But there's definitely some kind of emotional turmoil. Something is going on here that's really weird, and we need to do something about it. And we only have tonight. The niece, fiance, and the aunt, they sneak a key, and they decide that at night they're going to unlock their door, and they're going to start sneaking around. As they're hiding in the shadows of the night, they see that the Baron, the two butlers, are walking down the hallway, but they're holding up sheets that are covering something. And there's clearly something in between the sheets. And they walk outside and they go to the maze. Well, these two stupid ladies decide to follow them into the maze. All they have is one lit candle. And they're walking through the maze. And then, of course, for some reason, the aunt decides, I know I don't have a candle, but I think I'm going to go down this path instead of following my niece, because that seems like the best idea. So she goes down a different path and then almost immediately backs up. And she's like, oh no, where'd my niece go? So they start trying calling to each other and stuff, trying to find each other. And of course, the candle gets blown out and there's no matches. They don't know what to do. Here's where the big reveal comes. The aunt is stumbling through this maze and then she comes upon this big ass frog. She screams. This big ass frog freaks out, starts running through the maze. The niece, fiance, she's freaking out. She's screaming. You got these butlers chasing this giant ass frog around. The frog makes its way out of the maze into the castle. Now, it was quite humorous because obviously a man is inside of this frog suit. And it's obvious he can't see because he's running into doors and walls. He's trying to go up the steps and he's running into the banister and stuff. It was quite comical. And then the sound of this frog goes from sounding like somewhat of a frog to a freaking elephant. So you're constantly hearing this giant elephant trumpet sound as this frog is, trouncing through this castle. The two butlers chasing after it, saying things like, no, don't be scared. She isn't trying to scare you. She was afraid. Don't worry. She means you no harm. You're thinking, what the heck is all this? Frog goes all the way up to like this top level floor and decides to just leap from the window, plummeting to its death. At this point, somehow all the rest of the guests get out of their room. One dude has a gun, so he blasts himself out. The rest of them, I don't know how the hell they got out. They all come down there. They're all staring at this frog, and they're like, what the heck? Then they all just go back to sleep, and they reconvene in the morning. They're all sitting there, packed up, ready to go, and the new Baron walks in, and suddenly his countenance has changed. Somehow, he doesn't look 10 years older anymore, even though that MFer is nowhere under 39. He comes in, he's like, my friends, it was so good to see you. I have some things to explain to you. This is where stuff gets just silly. They want this movie to be based in science, but there's stuff that does not get explained because of the science, so it just makes more confusion. Here it is. That frog was the real Baron. He's been alive for 200 years. He's just been using his nephews as proxy barons. So he's behind the scenes running things, and they're doing the will of the frog. The two butlers and all the barons before have known this for 200 years. The explanation is they talk about development inside of the womb and how at some stage the fetus is in some kind of a amphibious stage. The real Baron never progressed past the amphibious stage. And when he was born, instead of taking on human form, he developed into the frog. And he's been running things. And now that he's dead, I am the master of the estate. And everything's good now. We can finally move on. Everything's happy. Okay, that's great. Maybe that explains the weird rules like, one, locking the doors because this baron was scared of outsiders seeing him. He was shamed of his appearance, which is very heartbreaking, honestly. And one of his only joys was swimming in the pond of the maze. So they'd lock the doors and they'd let him go to the maze and he would swim in the pond, which is hence another reason why people were not allowed in the maze in case he was there. So some of these castle rules make sense. But what doesn't make sense is why the hell did all the proxy barons, why were they all dying at a young age? And why were they not allowed to get married? Why did the one die? So none of this stuff gets explained. It's treated as a curse, but yet they want to root it in scientific reasoning. Is there some kind of scientific reason that if people hang out around amphibians, they die young? It doesn't make any sense. I enjoyed it for a 1953, horror mystery film. I enjoyed it. It did build things up, but it did suffer from the classic 50s type movies. This was originally a 3D film, but when the reveal occurred, it was just laughable. Now, granted, the costume of the frog was quite spectacular. From the parts that you actually see, I really thought they did a good job of the costume. But within the storyline, it was nothing but laughable. So I did enjoy it. The ending was a letdown. The explanation just opened up more questions. So I'm probably landing on a 5 out of 10 here. Here's a question. Would this movie be better had the mystery been supernatural? Or if they had never shown the true horror at all? Granted, it may have helped the overarching, but then for me personally, I think it would have just fallen into the tropes of the 50s, where a lot of creatures are never fully exposed and it's just left to your brain. So in some ways, for me, the mystery being a frog somehow highlights it and puts it in its own category to be memorable. And that could be wrong, so I want to hear your opinions in the comment sections below. Thanks for watching. This has been Creepin' It Real. I'm Judah, and I'll talk to you later.